What's up everybody, it's your boy Chef DA. I'm coming back with another video, and this video is on what type of pans should you use. I got some pans that I have in my house personally that I use. I usually tell people you can't cook certain foods because it's usually because of the pan. So we're just gonna get right into this. And say for instance, you just wanna saute some vegetables. I would say you can cook vegetables in any type of pan. So this pan right here is an ALL Clad pan. This right here is a very expensive pan. These are pans that you would usually find in a restaurant. This pan is a large pan. I usually won't use this pan that often. When I bought it initially, I didn't know what size it was, but it helps to have this when you cook for a lot of people and you want to saute some vegetables. You can use this ALL Clad non-stick pan. But like I said, you can use any type of pan for sauteing vegetables. Another one that I just got, this is like your common pan. You can find this one in probably Walmart. And as you see here, this is what I tell people all the time. When you got a pan like this, never use metal. Don't use a spoon in here. You only use rubber materials. So when you're using this, any type of pan really, so these pans right here, anything that looks like this in the inside, use, if anything looks like this in the inside, this material, don't use a spoon, don't use metal to stir anything, because one thing that I found out is, have you ever been to your grandmother's house and basically you look at the pans and all the pans are like scratched up at the bottom? I don't have any pans like that because that's not how I get down. So think about this. I told this to somebody the other day and I'm like, you know what? You're always scraping at the bottom of that pan, stirring and stuff, and then you see metal. You'll see this metal piece, but it's metal in here. It's not this nice coating right here. So all that means is that you've been you've been scratching it up. And just think about, when you stir that pan, all that metal and material is gonna go into the food. Now you're eating metal. So that's the main reason why you don't use spoons or any type of metal utensils in the pan. And number two or three, you'll keep this pan looking like this forever if you use rubber spatulas. So I'm gonna get a spatula for you guys and show you what I'm talking about. All right, so I got these spatulas for you guys. So this is basically gonna tell you what to use and what not. So this rubber spatula is what I use to cook with. And these pans right here, so you can just do anything with this. I like this because it has a little scoop on it, but you can just use this on any type of pan, you know. But the thing is with this metal, right? So this is a fish spatula. So most people won't even know that all these things have names for it, but this is a fish spatula. I just showed my sister-in-law last week on how to make some good salmon, and I actually use a cast iron pan to make that salmon. And when she's seen this, I'm like, so this is how it works. I'm just gonna show you guys how this works. But when you get fish in a pan and you can't get it out, you bend it like that, and then you boom, and that's how you basically get fish out the pan. You shouldn't have to scrape it like that, though. You shouldn't have to scrape it. But this pan right here, I can do this all day. I can do that all day. The moment you put this on here, it starts to scratch it up. And at the end of the day, that's not a good thing, because like I said, you're gonna scratch it up. It's not gonna look the same. And then for the most part, you're just gonna be eating metal. So just keep that in mind. So let me see. I'm just gonna go straight into the cast iron, because I was saying, so cast irons. This is something that you want in your life. You can use this thing for everything. Growing up in a black household, growing up in an African American household, you're gonna have this cast iron in your house. Probably, you're probably gonna have this. If you don't have a cast iron in your house, or if you didn't have a cast iron in your house growing up, maybe your family grew up in the suburbs, but that's another story. So I use this like for fish. So this is probably like one of the best things that you can use for fish, because don't you know when your fish sticks to the pan? Not with this. If you cook it on here with a high heat, that's the thing that I have to tell. That's the thing that I have to tell my sister-in-law, that usually you will cook on high heat when you're putting fish in the pan. Never put fish in a cold pan, because it's automatically gonna stick to that pan. So when you put that high heat on there, it's searing that fish, making a crust. So once that crust develops, it can lift right off the pan. If it doesn't develop that crust, everything's gonna stick on that pan. And when you flip it over, it's gonna be fish in the pan, and the top of that fish is gonna look nasty, like it's been ripped apart. Another thing about cast irons. Grandfather taught me this. Good for cornbread. I've never seen him, well, I probably have, but most of the times he's cooking his cornbread in a cast iron skillet. I don't know if any of your family does that, but he's from Mississippi, so that's just how he does it, and that's pretty much how I do it when I make cornbread from scratch. If you have a hot water cornbread recipe, let me know, because this is how my grandfather taught me his recipe. You put a little bit of this, and a little bit of that, a little bit. I'm like, man. And me as a chef, I'm like, oh, I need a little bit more than that. But I'm gonna go to the stop. This pan is heavy. This is a cast iron stop. So these two are pretty much, and as you see how these are greased up, when you get these like a cast iron or a wok, you have to burn it, right? So you put it on the heat, get as hot as possible, and just you're coating that pan with oil, and it's like you're seasoning the pan, essentially. So if you ever not this type of wok, but the one with the metal handle is easier, and they put it on a burner. The burners that you would use to make a fried turkey, so the ones with the propane tank, you can use that because it has more heat on that. And I would do it outside and just let it burn, and then take it off the heat and just season it, put it back on there. It's a long process of how to season the pan, but that's what I did to this one. I just baked this pan, and then I just seasoned it with oil, put it back in on broil, and then season it again, put it back in there. It's a constant thing. But this pan probably cost, it was over $100. I'm just telling you that it was probably almost $200 for this pan. I'm not sure exactly. I'll put a link in the description for these stops, because these are probably the more expensive ones that a chef will probably want his own house, or just a restaurant period. But I'm holding like this because this thing is really heavy. Like, I didn't expect it to be this heavy. Usually when I have to hold it like this when I cook. It's weird, but this one is a go-to for me, because if I don't want to use the small one, I have a bigger cast iron skillet too, but I would make my fish in here, vegetables. So like these type of pans, these cast irons, you can make anything in these pans, because it's pretty like a non-stick, you know, to me personally. And another pan I'm gonna show you guys is this pan right here. This is more so like the material of this pan. So they'll say non-stick, but as you see on this pan right here, I just got a steel wool and I need to scrape all this out. But these type of pans, these cheap little pans that you get from Walmart, you can't cook eggs in these. You can't. Only thing I would use for this is sauces. I would not cook an egg in this, period. It's just an inconvenience. When you buy cheap stuff, you'll know about your food when it's cheap. This stuff right here, it's not okay. I'm good on that. But invest in, like, if you really want to cook and you want to be that person, have dinner parties, invest into good products, because at the end of the day, you've invested those good products and your food is going to look good as well. Trust me, these are one of those things where you put in you put in the money, and you kind of like, if you already know how to cook, and start investing into these good appliances and good kitchenware, kitchen tools. I'll make another video on just chef tools for being a chef. You don't have to buy those things, but most chefs will want to get those things. So I would steer away from any type of cheap pan like this, because if you're not intending on just making sauces with this, this is gonna happen. Mind you, this is just oil. That's how the oil looks when you put it in the pan, and it just basically it burns, and it just stuck to the pan, and I didn't use it. So just put it in the dishwasher and it just stay like that. But you can wash this off. That's another thing with these, any type of pan. So another thing is, have you ever been to your grandma's house and the bottom of the pan looks like this, or everything looks like extremely oily and dirty? Get one of those steel wools. I would say get that pan hot, put it on a stove, get it hot, and then get a steel wool, put maybe a towel over the steel wool, and then scrub all that stuff off there. That is nasty. Number one, and when you think about it, like if you have a designated pan that you only fry stuff in, it's usually those pans too. You'll see those type of things, and it'll be just caked up nastiness on the side of there. But most people just live with it. It just burns away, or it burns and stays. Sometimes you just can't even get it. You have to get oven degreaser just to get some of that stuff off. That's just the life of living in the culinary industry when people burning stuff all the time. You're gonna need a lot of degreaser, and that makes dishwashers mad. When you come and you start burning stuff, ain't nobody got time for that. I'm gonna keep going. This is a little baby. This one right here is the same one. Like, you can find this at Walmart, but I only got it to make eggs in, or just little small things. This is like cool things to use. But to keep it like looking like this, don't use metal. Just use rubber spatulas or rubber spoons or anything you can find that's rubber. The wok. I make any type of, I love Asian food. Man, I love Asian food. I probably make Asian food almost every week just because it's so good. It is so good. So this is one of those things, as you see, it is nice. I keep looking up at the screen. As you see, this one is just straight up oily. It's not oily until it's gonna drip out, but I grease this pan as well. It's just one of those things that you wanna keep in the habit to keep oiled. The reasoning for that is, if you put anything in that pan and you only put oil at the bottom, and then you're trying to cook something and then it gets up over here on the sides up to here, it's just gonna stick to the pan. Automatically stick to the pan. And one of those things like this, when you're in a restaurant, how should I say this? We don't wash the pans in restaurants. We'll get them really hot, put them on the heat, and we'll have like a squeeze bottle of water. Once this thing is scorching hot on that heat, we'll put water in there, get one of those steel wools, scrape it out, put it back on the heat, put some more water on there, get a towel, wipe it out, brand new pan. That's one of the things that I'm gonna start doing, is telling people what we actually do in restaurants. I wouldn't say that's nasty or anything, but if you're cooking salmon in that pan and you want a brand new pan and you want to just make another dish with only salmon, you can get that pan nice and hot. It's only been salmon in oil or clarified butter in certain places, and basically you just, it's the same thing. But that's what we do. Another thing is, I'm gonna teach you guys how to make eggs. I'm gonna teach you how to make eggs and not have it like this. No shade to the person that made these eggs, but in this pan. But right here is why when you see stuff like this, that basically means that you didn't wash that pan. Well, what this means is that you did not put enough oil and the heat was probably wrong. But for the most part, you're going to want to, I have a video on my reels on YouTube, how to make a, what is it? How to make a pancake burrito. And I made some eggs. Actually, I probably might make some eggs right after this and make a video just for that so you guys can see how to make those eggs. But this is actually a pretty good pan. And it's just that goes to show you that you can actually still have a pan like this and your pan will come out looking like this. So I'm going to show you guys on the next video how to make eggs. Easy. What pan don't you cook eggs in? That pan. It's gonna stick automatically. You wanna cook eggs and stuff like this. You can cook eggs in a cast iron. I guess you can cook eggs in here because when you make stir fry or just fried rice, you put eggs in it anyway and it should be all right. But there's one thing about woks. You have to know how to cook a wok. You don't have to know, but if you want everything to come out nice and not then be sticking on the pan, do some research. You don't have to do research. You can just live and you learn, but it'd be, I research everything. Like I use YouTube for everything and you'll find it's probably a video out there on what to use. But these are just some of the pans that I have and just a brief description on what you should use with what's a good fit for you in your home, and just something that a chef uses at their own home. Chefs don't cook a lot at home. This is kind of weird because we're always at work, but at the end of the day, these are the pans that you should use at home.